Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to the 6th and final Time Agent Series 2 vlog. Today it is Best Kept Secret, the Series 2 finale. Now, watching this episode, I was enjoying the first half, but in the second half I have a couple of nitpicks with. The story is basically Liam and the team are going out to face Katrina Mills after Liam realises that she's a potential threat. And indeed she becomes a threat when her best kept secret, quotation marks, is that she's been in contact with aliens. Real aliens. The Zachatrons, to be precise, in their third, possibly fourth if you include the meeting with Liam and Dan, fourth invasion of the Zachatrons, the third on the screen, and this time it's all-scale war. And once again they're looking for a weapon that could destroy the sun, and they need a key, Katrina, to get to the centre of the Earth. Pretty much being a rehash of the Fallen Hero, but with a greater weapon, and with a key, and probably a better plan, or at least a sneakier plan. The Zachatrons aren't subtle, are they? So that means the team have to stop them. But what happens halfway through is that most of the episode is focusing on Katrina being a really good villain. She's a great villain, and Laura Dakin gives a fantastic performance as a pretty much evil, almost no redeeming qualities character. Though I do think there was probably a little bit of goodness still left inside. Sorry about that, there was someone playing loud music in their car. So as I was saying, I think there is a little bit of goodness still left in Katrina, but we don't get to see it, sadly. I think maybe her not killing Liam might have been a small sign, because she can't kill the man she used to love. A bit like Mortis having some goodness in Dark Revelations, as he came back to fight. However, unlike Mortis, we don't get to see a redemption of Katrina, if there ever would have been one, because Liam killed her halfway through. Ouch! And this is where the episode takes a turn for not being so good, because Katrina, redeeming quality or not, she was a fantastic villain, and brilliant performance, as I said. Even if there was no redemption, she was then she was pretty much an all-out fantastic villain. Although the redemption would have been even better for this character, especially if going into Series 3. But she doesn't go into Series 3, she dies right here. We see her in Series 3, but it's before these events. But I think what happens is that the episode starts to go downhill after Katrina. First of all, because of she was a great villain, the focus is now changing on to fighting the Zachatrons as opposed to the two of them working together, as the last minute of her was. Secondly, the story also seems to go downhill a bit as well. It was very strong when it was focusing on Katrina, but when going on to the Zachatrons it wasn't so good. And one thing about the first half I'm not so keen on is that there was not much Robin in it. Robin was basically the new boy of this series, and he got quite a bit to do in the first 3 episodes. But for the second half of the series, he doesn't get that much to do. In episode 4, he's barely in it, apart from at the end. In episode 5, he gets a little bit to do. He's the one who calls Liam in for the Katrina bit, and he discovers the circle, but he doesn't get that much to do anyway. And in this episode, he's pretty much out for most of it. He gets more screen time than in the 4th episode, but he probably gets less to do in most of the scenes. I think the most he does is at the start. Yes, a lack of Robin, not just in this episode, this second half of the series. It's a great job that he was used so much better in Series 3. I think that's probably why they didn't kill him off in this series, so they could use him for the 3rd series. And yes, like I said, Series 3 used him a lot better, even though he was stuck at Unit HQ for the first half. But he's still got more to do there than he does in this second half. However, this does mean we can see more of Mortis and Dan and Liam's relationship with Katrina. But I'm sure there could have been some Robin getting there. I mean, they're all trying to get into the house different ways. Liam confronts Katrina. Mortis goes after the bodyguards. Just after Liam says they shouldn't go in all guns blazing. Although I find it quite amusing after that. Probably not when she's doing the speech live on television. Meanwhile, Dan goes in sneakily, going in like a spy. And there's some Bond spy-esque music, James Bond or spy-esque music. I'm very sure it's a Bond score, maybe a David Arnold one, where Dan's just about to go into the house. He's riding the bike and then he goes to the house. Then he gets electrocuted just after Liam gets shot. This then causes Katrina Mills to kill her new security guy, played by Chris Tracy, because security has been breached. Probably because of Liam. And then Dan starts to malfunction. And like I said, Liam then eventually confronts Katrina and kills her just after the Zachatron appear. And the Oracle reveals that Katrina is the key. And there is a kind of a sexist comment from Liam. I don't know whether this was written by Jamie or written by Billy. Maybe if they meant it or if it was just for the character. But there's a sexist comment about women not being able to shoot or drive from Liam. Ouch. If it was Billy, then yes, people can change. And there was a quote from Katrina Mills I was going to use to quote it. About change. Oh well. I can't remember it at the moment. I knew it when I was watching the episode. People can change, I suppose. Ah, that's it. I remember. How times change. Yes. If it... I'm not sure. I guess it was just a little joke on the character's part, but some people might take it as sexist. Especially as Liam is able to kill Katrina in cold blood, unlike her, who's unable to kill Liam at all. And once... Also, she blows up the hub. Whoa. Mortis just manages to rescue Robin, and on the way he has a really cool moment where he shoots down a Zachatron spaceship and it crashes right behind him, and he has a brilliant pose as it happens. And surprisingly, Mortis is better at taking out a Zachatron ship than a fleet of aeroplanes, as we see later on. Now on to the second half of the episode. The first half, brilliant. Very few problems with it. So, very brilliant. Second half, or just less than second half, just over halfway through, it starts going down. Okay, Dan starts to malfunction. This is okay, because it means there could be some more emotion between Dan and I was going to say Billy, Liam, and his relationships with the relationship between them, as well as Dan's one with Mortis and later with Hannah. Mortis is in charge with looking after the team whilst Liam confronts the Oracle, but Dan wanders off, even though Mortis told him not to, and gets into trouble despite Liam telling him not to. He meets Hannah. She tries to take him away. Good timing, Hannah. You really great timing. Whilst in the middle of the Zachatron invasion, and he's working. Great times. Of course, I'm being sarcastic. Hannah chose a really poor time to take Dan away. She knew he was working as a time agent. Unless that was why, because the Zachatron invasion, she wanted to get him away from it. Or just she got the chance to catch him alone. But he was still technically working. So really, she should have waited. There's also a shot with her talking where she's still hiding behind a bush rather than coming out a little bit after Dan noticed her. Then Dan gets shot. That's okay. But the death scene's okay. I'm not sure at the time. I wasn't so keen on the execution of the death scene in this. I think I was, but to be honest, I think I'm a bit more worried about Liam confronting the Oracle. It sounds like he voiced dub Agent Liam. Liam's lines were dubbed over because it doesn't sync. Strangely. Because it got some great effects in. I'm not sure. There was something about Dan's death before being sent into the pit after being shot by the Zachatron, Why is there Zacatron on Earth? I don't know. It's the same problem that happened in Earth's Guardians. Fallen Hero I understood because they were actually going to war, but Earth's Guardians and here, apart from the Oracle, it's questionable. I'm not sure. I had an issue with it for some reason. I guess it just isn't as well executed. One great thing about it is that Mortis actually starts caring for Dan. Well, once Dan dies, or, well, heads off to become the sacrifice, Mortis is actually sad. Then the Zacatrons send Dan into the pit because he is actually the key. Liam apparently was the backup. The Zacatrons saw Katrina's death, and Liam thought he was the backup, but it turned out to be Dan. And they said that they need a half-human, especially one with metal powers, because if a whole human went in, the portal would close. However, because of Dan's emotions, this is a bit of a strange bit, because Dan's still technically half-human because of the metal bits, but because of his emotions coming back to him, he's now a whole human. I guess it's questionable either way, because part human he is. With metal bits, he's still kind of half-human, but on the other side, just because he's got metal bits making him, doesn't make him half-human. He's still pretty much human being, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. I suppose it's pick your poison. The episode ends with the Zacatrons dying from the fact that the portal is closed. They never said anything about dying, and Liam goes back to the Robin and Mortis, and they decide to carry on with fighting Dan's honour, and then it ends with the planet, a shot of the Earth, whilst Liam does a voiceover. A quick thing before we wrap up is that the planes, as I mentioned earlier, coming to fight the Zacatrons, they have no relevance to the story. There's 2 planes get destroyed by a Zacatron ship in a kind of a sonic blasting, but apart from that, there's 2 shots of the planes. One as they're coming into formation, about to ready to fire on the Zacatron ship. I should say 2 scenes. And then another one where they're fighting the ships, but they're unsuccessful, and 2 of them get blown up. So those planes had no relevance to the story. I think they're just there to show off the effects, the visual effects for this series. And whilst they're great, I mean, look at the Zacatron ships; they look fantastic. And they first appeared in the specials. The last special, the first one had a typical Series 1 ship, like the chainsaw one in the first episode. But the planes serve no relevance to the story, at least in the next series. There's a reason why Robin flies a jumbo jet to get into Darkchester, and that's the only plane you see. But I don't know why I just used that as an example. Yeah. So, time to wrap up. This is probably going to be the longest one, if not one of the longest ones. Review, vlogs, not episodes. All in all, Best Kept Secret is a brilliant episode for the first half of the story, but for the second half, it's just okay. It's a pretty good one. The confrontation is good despite with the audio sync, and Dan's death, I think, is handled pretty good when he's sacrificed, but when after being shot, he's not quite so good. I don't know why, I just didn't really like that bit. Oh, there was something wrong with it. There's something put me off. Maybe it was just how it was executed. I'm not sure. Mortis was pretty cool though. But like I said, the sacrificial bit was brilliant. And you know what? The first half of this episode is up there. If this episode had remained maybe focused on Katrina and the Zacatrons plotting an invasion. Oh yeah, they killed the world leaders, by the way. That's something to remember for the next series. But if they kept the story arc for the storyline of the first half of the episode, at least up until beyond the second half, beyond where Katrina's death had happened, we'd have one of the best episodes of the series. But as it happens, only the first half is I would only consider the first half up there, but the second half lets it down a lot. A bit like the Wedding River Song. It's not a train wreck, but it's a bit of a disappointment gone halfway through in, and kind of goes a bit downhill. But it's not a bad episode. It's still a pretty brilliant one. But if it had been the standard of the first half, it would be amazing. It'd be a fantastic episode. Credit where credit goes. Billy Tracy and Jamie Carroll, great performances. Sebby Tracy's brilliant in his swan song. Laura Dakin is probably the best villain until the Executive in the next series so far. So she's the best villain so far. And Alan Rafferty's okay in the scenes he gets. John Hutch is apparently the Zakatron Oracle, but I thought Billy Tracy voiced him, so if it was the body or the voice, John Hutch did a pretty good one, and Chris Tracy does a good job in his cameo as Gordon Davis, the security guy. So all in all, I would give this one an 8 out of 10. It would be a 10 if the standard was the same as the first half, maybe a 9. 9 or 10 if the standard was first half standard was in the second half. The whole thing was like the first half, but sadly the second half was a little bit of a letdown, and that's why it's an 8. But it's still a brilliant episode, nevertheless, but just not up there with one of the best because of the second half. Although Dan's death would have worked in both, if the story had done the first half bit, then Dan's death storyline would have worked in that one just as well. Thank you for watching this vlog. Tomorrow, or next time, we will start Series 3, yes! With Point of No Return. I'll see you guys next time.